Started with introductions, so I will lead us through that. I'm just going to go off of how the names appear on my list. They might jump around a little bit, so if I miss anyone, we can get you at the end here. But I'll start. My name is Hannah Oden. I'm a planning manager over at PAG. And next we will go to Jeanette.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeanette DeRen. I'm the Transportation Planning Director here at PAG. I believe we all know each other, but we're happy to be here and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Jeanette. And then next on my list is just moved Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. Jonathan Crow here with Pima County Department of Transportation.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. And then next, Ben Elias.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ben Elias. I'm a project manager with the City of Tucson Department of Transportation and Mobility.
Great. Thanks, Ben. And Dustin.
Hi, everyone. Dustin Fitzpatrick, PAG Environmental Planning Administrator.
Thanks, Dustin. And then we'll go to Nalo.
No, this is Nalo. I'm with the Tom Masalita, Public Works Director, Tom Engineer.
Great. Thanks so much for joining, Nalo. Hansu.
Hi, good afternoon. Hyun-Soo No here at Pima Association of Governments.
Great. Thanks, Hansu. And then Jason Bahi.
Hello, Jason Bahi with the Pasquayaki Tribe Transportation Manager. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jason. And Jennifer Hobart.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Hobart. I'm the Regional Transportation Planner with ADOT Multimodal Planning Division.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Jose.
Good afternoon. Jose Rodriguez, Town of Morro Valley.
Thanks, Jose. And then Josue.
Hey everybody, Josue Licea, City of South Tucson.
Thanks for joining, Josue. Let's see, Zhao.
Hi, this is Xiao Li, Senior Transportation Data Scientist from Pima Association of Governments.
Thanks, Zhao. And then Yunmi.
Hi, Transportation Data Science Coordinator here at PAG.
Thanks, Yunmi. And then we have Nico.
Hi, I'm Nico Geraldo, Transportation Planner at PAG.
Thanks, Nico. And then Samuel Paz. And Samuel, you are muted if you're trying to speak. All right, so I hear you, but welcome. Thanks for joining. And then next we have Tony Bianchi.
Hi, everyone. Tony Bianchi. I'm the Planning and Environmental Services Director at Tucson Airport Authority, and I'm sitting in for Scott Robidoux, who's out of town today. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Tony, and welcome. Let me see. And then we also have our admin and technical support team. So we have Dawn, Jesse, and Bree as well. So they're keeping us going throughout the meeting if anything should arise. So thanks so much to them for making sure that things run smoothly. Was there anyone that I forgot or missed? Just feel free to unmute yourself if I did. No? Okay, well, I think I got everyone. I'll just make a quick note. We should be good for quorum, but if you do have to leave early or hop off for any reason, if you wouldn't mind just letting us know, just so we make sure that we can maintain quorum for the meeting, that would be great. All right, so we can move on to the next agenda item. So this is just the in-kind form, so I'll just go ahead and read this. So regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. PAG collects data on the time dedicated to meetings and activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. If you are paid with federal dollars, please let us know now. Time spent in preparation for this meeting will be estimated by PAG staff who are knowledgeable of the agenda and meeting materials. At the conclusion of this meeting, the session report will automatically calculate your time spent in this meeting. Time spent working on PAG, RTA initiatives, programs, and special projects may also be eligible for consideration for matching funds. All right, and so we can move on to the next agenda item, which is the 2055 RMAP update. We can move on to the next slide. There we go. So this is a timeline which shows progress pretty much from May of last year to where we're at today, and looking forward to kind of the end of the RMAP process. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeanette to provide an update on the progress.
Sure. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, so as the slide shows, we have reached the end of the last 4 months of this process. You guys have been involved here for over a year now, almost 2 years, and seen this move along the timeline. We are cutting a draft of it right now. We actually hit the print button yesterday for the first time, and have begun our internal review of the various components of the plan. We're tracking towards putting a draft together and getting that out in front of the TPC, our Transportation Planning Committee, next month for their meeting. Their meeting date is the 21st. So we decided to have this meeting to go over the modeling outputs and the performance measure results with this team. You guys being most familiar with the RMAP process and the technical elements. This being a big component of what we do and the overall development of the plan, we thought it would be a good opportunity to present this to you guys for your review. And also, with the ask that, if you have questions, that you feel free to start asking them at any time, today or moving forward into the next coming weeks, as well as sharing your thoughts and kind of briefing your TPC representatives, except for those of you like Jose who are the TPC representative. You got double duty, you and Olive. So anyway, we wanted to get this out in front of you, put the numbers out there, let you know where we stand with the results, and then that can kind of begin sort of the review process for the overall plan. We don't have a deadline for comments on these materials that we gave out last week, but there will be ample time to comment and ask questions about this over the next probably 2 months. So just starting point, and hopefully we'll get that draft out as soon as possible for the TPC to review it. We're thinking it's looking like we'll have about a month and change, so hopefully about 5 or 6 weeks to have that draft out before we need to kind of call a deadline for your comments and questions. So as we always do in these processes, feel free at any time to email us or call us with any questions or concerns, starting today, moving forward till whenever we set that deadline. Makes our job a lot easier, and also we can help you guys kind of prepare your TPC members moving forward. We are on schedule for a July approval of the regional council, so we're moving steadily towards that at the pace that we've seen here. So our modeling efforts, running the ABM, running the land use model, doing the air quality conformity moves model, all that is completed. PM report cut and completed. So we might be making some tweaks and adjustments if we find things along the way that need to be changed. But overall, we're pretty confident that we're in a really good place with those results. So that's all I have about the timeline. But if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to let us know at any time. Thanks, Hannah.
Sure. Thanks, Jeanette. Does anyone have any questions on the timeline or process? All right. Well, seeing none, if anything comes to mind later, don't hesitate to reach out. But if there's nothing else on this item, we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is the 2055 RMAP modeling outputs. So I will pass it along to Jeanette, and you believe you should have slide control.
Let's see. I do. All right. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Hannah, and welcome everyone. I'm just going to walk through the results of the RMAP modeling efforts. These outputs were sent out last week, and you may or may not have had time to look at them, but like I mentioned earlier, don't worry, there's time, and we're just going to walk through the results today. And if you have any burning questions, feel free to raise your hand, but it's probably easier to go through it all and then ask questions at the end. We do have Dr. No, Hansu No, and Ms. Zhang and other members of the modeling team here. This is their work, so I'm going to be presenting it, but they are here to answer questions if you have any kind of specific questions that I'm unable to answer. Let's see. Yeah, we wanted to really just provide this opportunity for you guys to familiarize yourselves with it. We didn't want to just email this out and say, enjoy, get comments back to us. So I'll move forward and start sharing with you guys. Let's see. I'm pretty good at Zoom, but not always. So bear with me if it takes me a second to switch slides. So modeling is used to analyze the future conditions and impacts of our long-range plan. So the outputs to the model include, a variety of things, but mainly our future population projections, our future employment projections, our future traffic volumes, future congestion, job accessibility by cars and by transit, and of course our air quality modeling. This is the process for our long-range plan modeling efforts. Don't expect you to memorize this or anything, but I just wanted to walk you through a little bit of how we get to where we are. We begin with the socioeconomic inputs and the land use inputs, and that is through the process of working with the PopTech committee. So Hunsu and his team work closely one-on-one with the jurisdictions to evaluate our population projections and our employment projections, which I'll share later in the presentation, but that's the beginning of the process. Then we evaluate traffic volumes and accessibility, and we run the ABM. So we are using the activity-based model for the first time in the long-range plan. They did use the activity-based model in the last tip, but this is the first time we've used it, applying it towards our long-range planning efforts. And then, after we run the model, we use those outputs to finalize the performance measures and put together that performance report. From there, we evaluate our Title VI criteria, and finally, we run the MOVES air quality model. Recently, we've completed all these steps. So we've also finished the MOVES air quality model and sent that out to our interagency consultation partners for review. That went out, I believe, last week or the week before. Okay, so one foundational element of our long-range plan is to analyze growth. Not only how much will grow over the 30-year time frame, but also where that growth will take place. Over the next 30 years, we're projecting to grow by about 180,000 people. So that's the starting point for our modeling, just to start by developing our future growth patterns. We met with the PopTech committee numerous times to review the population projections, the population distribution among jurisdictions, and the employment projections, as well as employment distribution for both the base year and 2055. Our team also worked, one-on-one with each of the jurisdictions to understand their existing and future land use, incorporate known development projects into the land use model, and develop a method for capturing redevelopment potential. So this is our distribution of population. Our current distribution is on the left, and our future distribution is on the right. So where those 180,000 people are going to go in 30 years. So we see most of that growth happening around the central core of town, as well as in the Houghton Road, eastern part of the city, and in the Vale area, as well as a little bit up in Marana. So I don't think that's of any surprise to any of us here, but
Jeanette, I think you are actually showing the employment projection.
I am showing the employment projections. I must have skipped one. Uh-oh, I skipped one. Thanks, Hunsu. See, this is where we have Hunsu here to keep us straight, right? So here is the population estimate. So, like I said, in the central core, you see the growth, as well as Houghton Road, eastern part of the city, in the Vale area, as well as in Marana. So these will be in the document, and if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. But this was all approved through the pop tech process a few months back. Now employment projections. So this is just showing the distribution of our jobs. On the left, our current base year condition 2025. On the right, what we're anticipating for 2055. Growth you're going to see in the Marana area, along the I-10 corridor, in the southeast part of the region, near the airports and also around SR210 near DM. In the southwest, along Ajo Highway in the Valencia corridor, you'll see a little bit of job growth there, as well as a bit of job growth up in Oro Valley. Okay, traffic volume projection. So on the left, our current estimated traffic volumes as they are right now in the base year. The middle map is showing the 2055 no build scenario. So this is assuming that we grow by that 180,000 people, but we don't do any of our projects in the long range plan. And then on the right, it shows the future estimated traffic volume with the 2055 build scenario. So that's, we grow by 180,000 people, we build all the projects in the long range plan. I think it's what we expect, right? We're seeing that our highways and our arterial roads are carrying the majority of the volume. And without those projects, you know, we'll be getting 180,000 people and their associated trips, but no change in the capacity, right? Like no new projects, no new volume or ability to carry additional volume. So I do want to point out though that this is just volume. It's not congestion, right? Like this is just the roads carrying what volume of traffic they're currently carrying. Which leads to these three maps, right? This is our actual congestion. On the left, it's our base year, our current condition. The center is our future 2055 no build. So we get those 180,000 people. We don't build any projects. And then on the right is our 2055 build with our projects. So I do want to point out, these are just snapshots of the PM peak hour. So some of this congestion is directional, right? So when you see a bright red spot on I-10, that is one direction, you know, leaving town. At this scale, though, zoomed out this far, you're not going to see which direction, but we all know PM peak, we know where the cars are going. I think this doesn't really, this shouldn't really be a surprise to any of us where the congestion's happening. We're seeing the difference between the no build scenario and the build scenario. You know, it does include the Sonoran corridor going in. So that's why you're going to see a lot of relief on the congestion on I-19 between those two scenarios. We also see some congestion in places that, you know, we know there's going to be some PM peak hour congestion, right? Like near the base on Kolb Road, SR210, you know, right there at Golf Links. There's also, you know, some hotspots there on the interstate. We also see congestion, you know, up in the northeast part of town where we don't have a lot of arterial roads. So you're seeing Sunrise, Tanca Verde, Kolb Road up there in the county. They're going to see some congestion just because there are no, you know, major high volume roads out in that area. But you can see there is a significant difference between, you know, if we don't build any of our road projects in the RMAP, and, you know, if we do, quite a bit different. So,
Hey, Jeanette.
Yeah.
Real quick. So is this just a direct output of the model?
Yes, I believe so. Hansu?
Oh yeah, this is the output from the model, and purely like just a build scenario, no build scenario, and the base year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it is what it is, but I'm struck by the pretty significant difference, it seems, between the no build and the build. It kind of would lead the viewer to think, oh, I can just build my way out of congestion, which I think we are all in the business learning that that's not exactly what you can count on in the future. So I know it's just based on modeling and not, you know, actual numbers, and, you know, it's a long way into the future, but I'm struck by the message that these maps imply. And it's probably the best we can do for this exercise, but I would be curious to see in 30 years if the map on the right bears truth.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Hunsu,
that's
it
that's
does,
a challenging question.
yeah. And it does include transit as well, doesn't it, Hunsu?
Yeah, it does include the transit as well.
Yeah. So it does include those expansions. So yeah, but it does tell a story. And I do like to point out that it is the PM peak hour. So, you know, different times of day, we're going to see different congestion. But the one thing that I think it does show is that our congestion really is isolated to a few different spots, right? And probably places that we would anticipate congestion on our higher volume roads, interstates, some of our arterials, in the areas where we see our employment centers, so near the base, near the airport. We, you know, so nothing glaring is popping out like, why are we seeing a whole bunch of congestion right in that one spot? So it does tell the story of, you know, we aren't at complete gridlock. Okay, moving on from congestion. Let's see. Get the slides. There we go. Job accessibility by automobile. So this is within a 30-minute jobs that are within a 30-minute drive by car. So on the left, our current scenario. In the middle, future accessibility, jobs by auto in 30 minutes. That's no build scenario. And then on the right, same as in the last few slides, this is the build scenario. So, you know, interesting between the no build and the build scenario is that we do see more accessibility to jobs in both scenarios. Of course, with the build scenario, we do see more, but it does kind of paint the picture there for you as well. I can just stay here for 1 second if you guys have any questions about this, but it's you know, pretty self-explanatory, also just a direct output of the ABM. Okay. Similar to that is job accessibility by transit. So this is jobs accessible with a 45-minute commute via transit. So you can see where we're at today, 2025, base year condition, and then the center, of course, the 2055 no build, and then on the right, the 2055 with our projects. There's clearly more jobs accessible within 45 minutes, you know, in the with project scenario, the build scenario on the right. And this is just with the fixed route network, the fixed route bus networks. Okay, on to the MOVES model. So air quality conformity. As you all know, we do have the Ryuto PM10 non-attainment area located up in the northern part of our planning area. So mostly in Marana and unincorporated Pima County, and some of the tribal lands. We did do our interagency consultation back in November of last year. And this map just shows the projects that are in the non-attainment area. Some of these projects are, you know, older projects that have been around for a while. Some of them are projects that are included in the TIP. And of course, there are a couple on here that are newer projects. The MOVES model is done and we have demonstrated conformity. We sent that information along to our interagency partners. That was sent out, I believe last week or the week before. And we're taking comments now from those partners, but we're confident that conformity is going to be demonstrated. But Dustin's here if you guys have any specific questions related to air quality conformity. Okay, so the next series of slides is all of our Title VI analysis. This table is kind of the meat and potatoes of what we're looking at, and that's impacts to travel time for our different protected populations. So for each category, you're going to see one line, protected population, and then the below it is just the non-protected population, just for comparison's sake. So we are showing that, you know, in the build scenario, it's the travel times are impacted less than in the no build scenario. That's probably no surprise to anybody. But overall, our travel time differences between base year and current year not really a big issue. We're also showing that between all the different protected populations and then just the general all population category, marginal differences, if any. So travel times really aren't impacted, and I think more significantly the peak hour travel time. So folks are able to get to their jobs and schools in a relatively quick manner. Off-peak hours are shown in the bottom half of that table. This was sent out to you. It'll also be in the plan, but feel free to dive into it. Take a look, and if you have questions, of course, let us know. The next several maps are just the maps of the projects with those different protected populations. African American, Asian, and Hispanic are on this slide. The teal kind of greenish color is the location of those TAZs with those populations greater than the county average. And then, of course, the projects by type of project. So, our freeway projects, parkways, arterials, collectors, and transit projects are all included. We also put our interchanges and intersection projects, the ones that were identified as such in the plan in the project list, as well as transit improvements. So improvements to your transit facilities, your transit stations. Also, it shows the BRT line. This series is just our Native American population, our Pacific Islanders, and our disabled groups. And then our elderly and low income populations. So that's just the same series of maps. The last map, this one is interesting. So this is our disadvantaged communities. So this is this is based off of the SunCloud disadvantaged communities data. Right now, we do have this in the plan and are sharing it with you today. I will say that there's been a lot of discussion around the topic of Title VI and disadvantaged communities, and that's happening at the federal level. I know you guys have kind of been hearing about conversations as well. We don't know for sure that this will stay in the plan. Things are changing rapidly. We've been in close communication with ADOT and our partners at the federal level to make sure that we're handling this topic in the best way we can, being true to the intent of Title VI, but also, navigating the constant change of the rules in the framework in which we're trying to plan. A lot has changed, not just this year, but over the course of this planning cycle. With the last plan was approved in September of 2020, right in the midst of the beginning of COVID. We were a few months into COVID trying to figure out where that was going to land us, and here we are all these years later, really looking at a completely different environment in how we plan and how things are running. So ideally we can keep this in and keep on doing this work, but just want to give you guys a heads up that it may or may not be in there. And that's all I have. It looks like Ben's got his hand up, so he's first to ask his question.
Thanks, Jeanette. Appreciate the presentation. On that last piece, I think understanding what data we have available to us at the very least we should be able to advance all of this to TPC so they have some awareness of the work that the member jurisdictions and staff has put forward thus far. I guess my question is, at what point, what direction would we need from the feds in terms of better understanding what is and is not allowed to be reported through the RMAP analysis here?
That is a very good question, Ben, and I wish I had a definitive answer for you. Our approach, though, is right now we're going to meet the requirements that we're required to meet as they are right now, unless we're told otherwise. So all the work that's gone in, all the information that we have, our intent is to leave it in, present it to TPC, but knowing darn well that, next week we might get a memo that says something completely different. So we're keeping our eye on what's happening. We're keeping conversations, happening with ADOT specifically, and we're going to just go through our understanding of what's required, which hasn't really changed since the last time we've gone through this process. But I mean, our intent, as always, as PAG, is we don't want to do anything that will jeopardize our federal funding. That being said, the ABM is really impressive, and what it has done. What the information I haven't shared with this group yet, but we do intend on sharing with TPC, is some of the new baseline performance measures that the ABM has. It's mind-blowing what these guys were able to accomplish and show there. So, that dives in a little bit deeper into outcomes. And so hopefully we can pull all that together. We do intend on pulling it together and getting it to you guys quickly. It's just a lot of information. We don't have it yet. Well, we have it. We just don't have it in a really great format for me to present it to the committee. But, we acknowledge that the ABM and our data science team have done some really innovative modeling in this specific topic area. And we do intend to share that. If it ends up in the final approved RMAP, I don't know. I'd like to think so, since a lot of work was put into it. So, but we'll keep you guys and specifically TPC, in the loop when we hear things, and when we're confident that we know how to respond in the most appropriate way.
Okay, thanks, Jeanette.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions about the model outputs? All right, thanks. I'm happy to have presented this. Thank you, Hunsu and data science team, for doing all this hard work, and I will pass it over to Hannah.
All right, Jeanette, so we can move on to the next agenda item, which is the performance measure report. And let me just wait for slide control. All right, let's do a test here. All right, looks like I have control, so I will go ahead and get started. So for this item, I'm going to provide just an update on the 2055 RMAP performance measure report, and really where we're at status-wise in relation to our 2055 targets. So just as an overview, reminder and background, I know we've been over performance measures and the targets with this working group previously, but performance-based planning is federally required for long-range transportation plans. So we do have performance measures and associated desired targets for a region as part of the RMAP. So the performance measures and targets were presented last to this working group in July of last year, and to TPC in August. And the TPC did adopt the recommended targets, which were largely just extending the targets from the previous RMAP to 2055 at their August meeting. So just some background. So the performance measures and targets were originally adopted as part of the 2016 RMAP, which was the 2045 RMAP, which was adopted in 2016. So those were when those targets and or performance measures and targets were originally established. And then the measures and targets have largely been carried over from the as part of the 2045 RMAP update, and as well as the current 2055 RMAP. So the 2045 RMAP update was really the first plan that actually had a performance measure assessment that reported on the adopted performance measures and targets from the 2045 RMAP. So just kind of a summary, there are 39 RMAP performance measures and 15 fast-track performance measures that we support as part of the RMAP. So there's quite a lot of them. All right, so this is a summary table. There was a table with a little more detailed information. It was sent Friday, and then there was a slightly updated version that was just sent yesterday. So you may have had not a time to dive in detail, but feel free to review that more and reach out with any questions. But yeah, this is just a summary table of the performance measures. So the performance measures are organized into 7 goal areas. So these are system maintenance, safety, multimodal choices, system performance, environmental stewardship, land use and transportation, and freight and economic growth. So this table shows the goal area, the performance measure, the 2055 target, and the current status on the far right-hand side of the table. So the status shows where we are at with meeting our 2055 target. So a status of on pace implies that the region is progressing at a pace to meet the 2055 target. Behind pace means progress is being made, but not at a pace to meet the 2055 target by that year. And then behind pace means that, trending away is an indication that the performance condition is actually getting worse and moving away from meeting that 2055 target. Just one thing I do want to point out on this table, so we did verify that the total miles of bicycle facilities is actually on pace. The table that was emailed to you, it showed that it was behind pace. So we'll send out an updated version of that, but I do want to point that out. That is one difference shown here on your screen. Again, we just recently, finished this report, so there may be slight adjustments as we move forward to final approval, but we do feel confident with the results. Right, and then this is just even a shorter summary table of the performance measures and current status. So again, this shows the goal areas on the left-hand side of the table, the number of performance measures in each, how many of those performance measures within the goal areas are on pace, behind pace, or trending away. And then the columns on the 3 columns on the right-hand side just break that down by percentage. So I know we've discussed this previously with this group, but safety is a category that does stand out with a good chunk of those performance measures that are trending away from those desired targets. But overall, the very last row has the total for the total that breaks it down by on pace, behind pace, or trending away. So overall, we have 64% of the performance measures that are on pace to meet the 2055 target, 8% behind pace, and 28% that are trending away. All right, so I am going to jump in. So again, there are a lot of performance measures. I'm going to go through each one very briefly and just show this graph, which kind of visually depicts where we are in the trend. So if you have any burning questions, feel free to jump in. And if not, we can always circle back to any of these performance measures at the end of the presentation. But do have the data science team here to help with any of the really technical aspects of the questions. So the first goal area that we're going to cover is system maintenance. So just how these charts are organized, it shows the annual, you can see in the legend at the bottom of the chart, the annual performance, the 2015 baseline, which is how the targets are calculated based on when they were originally established, the 5-year average, the 2025 benchmark. So that's where we would want to be to meet the 2055 target, and then the 2055 target is shown as well with the triangle icon on the far right-hand side of the graphs. And then for some of these, I'll point them out. We don't have 2024 data for all of these measures, but for the majority of them we do, so I'll point those out. But the first performance measure here is the federal aid pavement in poor condition. So you can see we don't have 2024 data yet. We anticipate that that will be available likely in March of next year. So as we receive updated data, we continually update these performance measures. But for federal aid pavement in poor condition, the 2055 target is to reduce to below 20%. We are currently behind pace to meet that target. And for each of these, I'm also just going to, as a comparison, I'll say what the status from the previous RMAP, which was the 2045 RMAP update as well. So the previous RMAP, we were on pace to meet that target. The next performance measure is public bridges in poor condition. So the 2055 target is to maintain this below 10%. We are on pace to meet this target, and we were on pace in the previous RMAP as well. The average age of public buses is the next one. So the 2055 target for that is to maintain under a 7-year average age. We are on pace to meet this target, and previously we were behind pace, so this does show an improvement. All right, and the next is safety. So there are a number of safety performance measures under this goal area. So the safety data for 2024 will be available after July of this year. So we are just showing the 2023 numbers for all the safety measures. But the current or the annual performance for each year, that's based on 5-year averages. So that's why you see that on the title of each graph there. But we'll start with total fatalities. So the 2055 target is to reduce by 25%. We are currently, as you can see, trending away from meeting this target, and we are trending away in the previous RMAP as well. The fatality rate, so the 2055 target was to reduce by 45%. We're trending away from this, from meeting that target, and we were on pace in the previous RMAP. The total serious injuries, so that is the lower left-hand chart. The target for 2055 is to reduce by 25%, and we are on pace, as you can see, to meet that target, and we are on pace in the previous RMAP as well. See, and the next measure is the serious injury rate. So the goal is to reduce by 45%. We are on pace to meet, as a region, to meet this target. In the previous RMAP, we were behind pace, so this does show an improvement. All right, and we are continuing with safety. So the next performance measure is the total pedestrian fatalities. The target is to reduce this by 33%. We are trending away from meeting the 2055 target, and we are trending away in the previous RMAP as well for the 2045 target. The next one is the pedestrian fatality rate. So the target is to reduce by 70%. We are trending away from meeting this target, and we are trending away from the previous target as well in the previous RMAP. The total pedestrian serious injuries the goal was to reduce by 33%. We are trending away from this target, and we were behind pace in the previous RMAP. The next target is the pedestrian serious injury rates. That's at the lower right-hand side. The target was to reduce by 70%. We are currently trending away from this target, and we were trending away in the previous RMAP as well. All right, just got a couple more safety slides. So the first graph on this chart on this slide is the total bicycle fatalities. So the goal for the 2055 target was to reduce this by 33%. We are trending away from this target, and we're trending away from the previous target as well. The bicycle fatality rate, the target is to reduce this by 70%. We're trending away from this target, and we're trending away in the previous RMAP as well. Total bicycle serious injuries, that's on the lower left-hand side of your screen. The target is to reduce this by 33% by 2055. We are on pace to meet this, and we were on pace to meet the target in the previous RMAP as well. The bicycle serious injury rate, the goal was to reduce this by 70%. We are trending away from this target, and we were behind pace, just behind pace in the 2045 RMAP update. All right, and the last safety performance measure is the transit crash rate. So the 2055 target is to reduce this by 10%. We are currently on pace to reach the 2055 target, which is good news. That this just showed improvement from the previous RMAP, where we had a trending away status for this performance measure. All right, and next I will move on to the performance measures under multimodal choices. So the first performance measure, which is on the upper left-hand side, is the walk, bike, or transit rate to work. So that's the percent of the Pima County population. So the 2055 target is to increase this to over 10%. We're behind pace to reach this target, which actually is an improvement from the previous RMAP where we were trending away from meeting the 2045 target. The total transit trips is the next one in the upper right-hand side. The 2055 target is to increase this by 75%. We are currently behind pace for this target, which is a slight improvement from the previous target, which where we were trending away. The walk, bike, and transit mode share for all trips. The 2055 target is to increase this to over 20%. We are trending away from meeting this target, and previously we were behind pace. And the average transit travel times, that's the graph that's shown on the lower right. This is the goal of this is to reduce the travel time to under 50 minutes. So we are on pace to meet this target, which is an improvement from previously where we were trending away in the 2045 RMAP update performance measure report. All right, one more slide for multimodal choices. So the average transit speed. So the target for this was to increase to over 15 miles per hour. Unfortunately, we're trending away from this measure. We were on pace in the previous RMAP. All right, and the next one is total miles of pedestrian facilities. So this was one that we had extended based on the rate of adding 24 miles per year. So we did increase the target from the 2055 RMAP or from the 2045 RMAP update. So the 2055 target for pedestrian facilities is 1,500 miles, and we are on pace to meet the 2055 target. The total miles of bicycle facilities, that was also increased based on the 24 miles per year from the previous 2045 target. So the goal for the 2055 target is to increase to 2,000 miles, and we are on pace. And again, this was, you can provide an updated chart, which what was distributed. Jonathan, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. So on the pedestrian map there, I mean, that's a pretty big jump from 2024. Can you explain what accounts for that? Do you know?
So that is, and I can defer to you and me, but this is data that we receive from our GIS team. So that's the data that we receive from 2023 to 2024. You and me, I don't know if you have anything to add to that from what you saw when you were creating the report.
Yeah, I got it from GIS team, so yeah, that's all I know. Sorry.
Yeah, it looks a little suspect to me since it's such a huge increase, and then the fact that there's no increase since 2018 also looks a little odd. But you know, I would have thought we'd have at least a little bit of a increase, but maybe GIS just didn't pick that up. So anyway.
Yeah,
Sure.
Jonathan,
Yeah,
we can take a look at the data source too. I'm not sure if they switched data sources, but we can look into that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks for the question. All right. So we'll move on to the next goal category or goal area, which is multimodal choices. Oh, no, I'm sorry, system performance. So we'll start with the first performance measure, that's daily vehicle miles traveled, or VMT per capita. So the 2055 target is to reduce this by 10%. We are on pace to meet this target. In the previous target, we were, for the previous RMAP, we were behind pace. So that does show an improvement. Daily vehicle hours traveled per capita is the next graph, which is on the upper right-hand side. So the 2055 target is to reduce this by 5%. We are on pace to meet this target, and previously we were behind pace for the last RMAP. The travel time index for the afternoon peak. This was to minimize the increase to below 10% for the 2055. So we are on pace to meet the 2055 target, and previously we were on pace as well for the 2045 target. The next measure on this slide, which is on the lower right-hand side, is the percent of peak hour vehicle miles traveled. under severe congestion. Sorry, there we go. So the 2055 target was to keep this at 1.8, or yeah, to be 1.8%. So where we're at now, we are on pace to reach this, and we were on pace for the 2045 target as well. Okay, and so the next goal area, and we have a number of performance measures for this category, is environmental stewardship. So the first one that we track is on-road greenhouse gas emissions. So the 2055 target is to reduce this by at least 30%. And again, that's based on our 2015 baseline data. So we are currently on pace to meet this target, and that does show an improvement from the previous RMAP for the 2045 target, where we were behind pace for greenhouse gas emissions. The next performance measure is the weekday metric tons of nitrogen oxide emissions, or NOx. So the 2055 target is to reduce this by 80%. We are currently on pace to meet this, and we were on pace in the previous RMAP as well. All right, Natalie, I see your hands up.
So similar to Jonathan's question, what would explain the drop in greenhouse gas emissions, and yet there's very little drop in the air pollution emissions? And then with your previous slide, the same thing. There's some significant changes in 2024. I also don't see any 2020 anomalies that we would expect here. So this just looks really off to me.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely look into that. I might.
May I answer?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe just that we discussed earlier and together with Dustin as well. But this is mainly from the model, and I would go back and the previous slide. And as you see, vehicle the VMT actually just decreased in the 2023, 2024.
What explains that?
Yeah, so because of that's what I'm saying. And the up to just the 2023, we actually used the tree-based model, the previous model, but we are, as just Jeanette mentioned, we are transitioning, and we actually just for this RMAP and the 2055, we applied just the activity-based model, newly calibrated model that just estimates just the lower daily VMT. And there are certain kind of a drop and increase, and more likely just a new ABM and applied, so more likely 2024. That was just the main reason.
So, I mean, you're not putting any sort of asterisk here that identifies that, and
yeah,
then it becomes kind of an apples to oranges comparison from 2024 to the previous years, doesn't it?
Yeah, we should just add just asterisk and for just a new model applied. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, I made a note so we can do that. Natalie, did that answer your question? Was there anything else?
It did. I just think it's a little bit disingenuous that for 2024, we just magically get there so quickly, and then the previous years are different. I don't know. It just, it doesn't seem like any of it adds up to me, but it does answer my question. It just doesn't help us for planning.
Point taken. Yeah, I appreciate the comment, and we'll yeah, we can discuss more, and we'll make sure that it's clear in the document. All right, so I think where we left off was the next performance measure on the lower left-hand side is the weekday metric tons of volatile organic compounds, or VOC emissions. So the 2055 target for this was to reduce by 70%. We are on pace to meet this target, and we were on pace in the previous for the previous 2045 target as well. And then the last one on this slide is the weekday metric tons of carbon monoxide, or CO emissions. So that's on the lower right-hand side. So we are, so the 2055 target is to reduce this by 70%. We are on pace to meet the 2055 target, and we are on pace for the 2045 target as well. All right, and these are the last two environmental stewardship performance measures. So the first one is the weekday metric tons of PM 2.5 emissions. So the 2055 target is to maintain less than 0.5 metric tons per weekday. So we are on pace to meet the 2055 target, and we are on pace in the previous RMAP as well. And the last one on the right-hand side of the screen is the weekday metric tons of PM 10 emissions. So this, the 2055 target is to maintain less than 1.3 metric tons per weekday. We're on pace to meet this performance, or to meet this target, and we were on pace previously as well. Okay. So the second to last goal area with performance measures is the land use and transportation goal area. So the first performance measure that we track that's shown on the screen on the upper left is job accessibility index for all modes. So the 2055 target is to increase this by 15%. We are on pace to meet the 2055 target. This does show an improvement. We were behind pace previously. The next one is the regional jobs reachable by transit in 45 minutes. So the 2055 target was to increase this by 50%. We're currently on pace for the 2055 target, and this is an improvement actually for all of the performance measures in land use and transportation. We show an improvement from behind pace to currently on pace. But yeah, previously this was behind pace, and now we are on pace to meet the 2055 target. Oh, go ahead, Natalie.
Is this the same situation going on here with the numbers changing so dramatically?
So this is the different case, but yes, that's right. And when we just apply the ABM and mainly like just the TAG data was applied earlier, and but this round and especially for the transit, the MAG data and much more just to collect those in the dense, the area along the corridor. So transit and the reachable jobs actually just show more along the corridors. So we actually just estimate is the numbers higher than earlier, but this is right and the output and from the model because of the area to capture the quarter mile and by the TAG is a portion that we applied just the area ratio. There was a methodology that different, and as well as just data input data was different. The much just a higher resolution we applied.
I
That
assume
was
you'll
the
be
reason.
explaining all that in the full report.
Yeah, it should be just included.
Yeah. So one of the differences between the former approach that we had to modeling versus the ABM is that the ABM is looking at a much smaller geography. It's looking at what's called the MAZ instead of what we've done in the past, which is the TAZ. So you guys are probably familiar with the TAZ term, but the MAZ is new. And what it's doing is it's modeling at a much granular level. So instead of looking at bigger geographies, we're looking at smaller geographies. So the ABM is really calibrated for more of a precise modeling of the region, which is one of the reasons why, we've transitioned to the ABM, but also as an industry, we're transitioning to the ABM because it's much more granular, it's much more accurate. So, as we transition with any new tool, things get better, a little more sophisticated, and that's kind of what we're seeing in these outputs.
All right. Thanks, Sensu. Thanks, Jeanette. We'll be sure that's made absolutely made clear in the document. All right. So I think wrapped. I can't remember where stop. I think the last one was the jobs, maybe the regional jobs reachable by auto in 30 minutes. So the goal was to increase this by 45%. We're currently on pace to reach that. And the last one is jobs within a quarter mile of a transit stop. The target is to increase this to more than 60%, and we're currently on pace to reach that target. All right, and the last performance measure for land use and transportation is the population within a quarter mile of a transit stop. So the 2055 target was to increase this to more than 45%, and we are currently on pace to reach this, the 2055 target. And for the 2045 target, we were behind pace to reach that. So this does show an improvement. All right, and the last performance measure is it's under the freight and economic growth goal area. So this is actually one that we did not have a target for previously, but based on conversations with this working group and TPC, we did establish a target to maintain this for the travel time index, to maintain this under 1.5. So we are currently on pace to reach that. And the freight travel time reliability for 2024, we'll be able to calculate that after October of this year. So we just have 2023 data for this particular measure. All right, and just to wrap up here, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, there are 15 fast-track performance measures that we support. So the fast-track targets, those are used by the state to track state performance against national targets. As PAG, we support ADOT's performance target requirements for the FAST-Act by tracking federally required and regionally recommended measures for the PAG region. So this table, which will be included in the performance report, as well as, I didn't include them in this presentation, so if there's anything you want more detail on, we can certainly follow up. But we'll also have graphs for each of these measures in relation to the ADOT projections. But these do show the FAST-Act performance measures on the middle column here, and then comparison, and then we compare it to the 2055 RMAP performance measures. So again, just a summary table, but if there's anything specific, we can definitely follow up. But all right, I know that was a lot. There were a lot of graphs, but that's everything that I wanted to share. So happy to answer any additional questions or go back to any of those performance measures if you have questions. All right, well, I'm not seeing any hands, but again, this presentation will be available online. And we'll send an updated table with the bicycle facility status updated. So if anything comes up, definitely feel free to reach out. Jeanette, was there anything else you wanted to add for this one?
No, I think you covered it, Hannah. Just thank you guys again. And, we'll be providing those updates as Hannah mentioned, and there's plenty of time to still look at these. If you have questions, if you want to share with your TPC members, feel free to do so. Reach out at any time with questions. We'll be presenting this to TPC, but in TPC in May, we're going to present, more of the whole RMAP, not just this specific deep dive into the model outcomes and the performance measures. So if there's any details that you guys want to discuss with us directly ahead of time, feel free to reach out at any time. Hannah and I and the data science team will make time to bring you guys up to speed if you need it.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeanette. All right, well, if there's nothing else, if there's no other questions, we can go ahead and move on to the last agenda item, which is just the adjournment. So thank you so much again for everyone for making the time. Really appreciate your help and participation throughout this entire process. And it's been meeting for quite a while. So I really appreciate all the feedback and help and your attendance today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all right,
Hannah.
have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.